Good day, welcome to our lecture which we have titled Rights and Obligations at Law. I'll begin by sharing a few scenarios. Mr. Peter bought a farm in 1987, and at that farm he's been keeping animals as well as growing crops. A few weeks ago, one of his neighbors out of malice set the crops on fire, destroyed the crop which was ready for harvest, and some of the livestock that was kept in that farm also died as a result of the wildfire that had erupted at the farm. Now the question is whether any of the rights of Mr. Peter have been affected by this incident. And in another scenario, Mrs. Davids took her car for repairs, and then the mechanic has actually been taking out some of the parts and replacing with second-hand and old parts. So now the car is no longer functioning as well as it did. In our third scenario, we are looking at Mr. Joubert, who just completed and published a book on a very rare kind of technology, a recent invention which the world didn't know about. And then last but not least, we are looking at one of these issues that has become very topical nowadays, the issue of defamation, where a person just comes up with a story and begins to tell a story about you. Based on maybe lies, total or complete fabrication. Are any of your rights affected when such stories are being told? So these issues form the core and the basis of what we are talking about. First and foremost, let's remember that the law deals with legal subjects and legal objects. So what is a legal object? Or maybe let's start with the legal subject. A legal subject is a person who is a member of the legal community and a bearer of rights and duties. Legal subjects consist of natural persons as well as juristic persons. Now, by juristic persons, we are talking about companies, clubs, government departments, or any other entities that are constituted by people and they have an existence separate from the people that constitute them. So remember that when we talk about a person in law, a natural person is a legal person, but not all legal persons are natural persons. As I have indicated, some of them are juristic persons. So legal subjects are bearers of rights and duties, and they bear those rights over legal objects. So that brings us to our next item where we look at legal objects. A legal object is an entity or thing which may be subject to the exercise of a legal right or a claim by a legal person. We have quite a number of categories of legal objects. We have a thing such as a property. I'm sure you can see that watch over there. It's an example of a legal object, which is a property. What about your house? What about your computer? What about your car or whatever property you have? That is what we call a property or a thing. So it is a legal object in the sense that rights may be exercised by a legal person over that legal object. Other legal objects include the personal right, and then there's an intellectual property right, and there's a personality right. If you look back at the scenarios, the four scenarios that we began by looking at, they actually dealt with the issues of legal objects. Now, having spoken about legal objects, our next item is to look at what is a right. A right is a claim or entitlement that a person holds over a legal object on the basis of jural or legal relations with other objects. For instance, we spoke about Mr. Peter and his farm. He is the owner of the farm. He has the rights, privileges there to grow crops and to keep animals. And at the same time, you find that the neighbor who walked in and maliciously set everything on fire has a duty to protect the rights that Mr. Peter has in respect of his property. So we are saying a right is a claim or entitlement that a person holds over a legal object on the basis of jural or legal relations with other legal subjects. So when you have a claim over a legal object, you find that other legal subjects have duties or obligations towards you by virtue of the right or the claim that you have. So we are saying rights and duties occur as jural opposites or as jural correlatives. For instance, we said when one has a right, the other has a duty to respect that right. And so we are talking here about different categories then of these kind of rights. We are saying the legal objects can be a thing, a personal right, an intellectual property right, a personality right, where we are looking at bodily and psychological integrity, name and dignity. So this still run as parallel to what we said about legal objects. So legal rights emanate from legal objects. Depending on the legal object that one is looking at, there tends to be also a legal right that runs parallel to that legal object. So talking about categories of subjective rights which exist, as we have said, in respect of legal objects, you have real rights or rights in rem. Here we are talking about claims held by one person in respect of a thing. We are saying that these rights are multital in that they bind everyone in the world. Now this is attributable to the works of Hofeld, who spoke extensively about what real rights are, or in rem rights. We say they bind everyone in the world. If you look at, for instance, a right like ownership. When I own the computer that I'm using to make this lesson, it means that other people have a duty everywhere in the world to respect my right of ownership. So I'm saying my right to ownership over this computer actually binds the whole world, in the sense that it enjoins everyone else everywhere to respect this right. And then there are also issues of possession. The law protects possession. When a person possesses an object, it is required that everybody else in the world must respect possession. That's why even possession held by a thief is still respected in law. Well, as you delve deeper into the course, you will realize that if for instance, a thief has stolen something and it's your property, and then you dispossess the thief, you may actually be interdicted from doing so, while the law is still establishing whether there is legitimacy in that possession or not. So possession is also a very protected right, and we said these rights are exercisable in respect of things. Other real rights include servitudes. Servitudes are limited rights that some people have in respect of property belonging to others. We are saying there are different types of servitudes. You will learn a little more about them. We have parietal servitudes, we have personal servitudes such as usufructs and habitatio and so on. These are limited rights that one person may have in a property belonging to another. Then we have real security, or security by means of handing over a real object by the debtor to a creditor as security for the debt that is owed to the creditor. Examples of real security include a mortgage, a pledge, There are other rights that may arise also in terms thereof, but these are the most important ones at the moment. We then talk about personal rights or in personam rights, which Hofeld describes as possetal claims by a person against one or a few definite persons. Now, you're talking here about a claim for performance emanating from obligations. These obligations may arise in terms of the law of contract or delict or enrichment. For instance, we spoke about a person who takes a car for repairs and then the mechanic begins to take off some parts of the vehicle and replace with the second-hand ones. There are quite a number of issues there that arise. First of all, we could be talking about contract and breach of contract. And we could also be talking about a delict, because if somebody is replacing genuine spares with second-hand or used ones, then he's actually tampering with the integrity of the vehicle in a way. So as a result, some claims could actually arise based on that. So we are saying enrichment action or delict. And then the bottom line, of course, is that one person, a debtor, owes performance to another who is a creditor. So that's as far as the personal rights are concerned. We have what are called personality rights. Here we are talking about rights based on the aspects of personality. For instance, every person has a right to a good name or to the privacy of their lives. Some of these are protected and enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Your dignity, reputation, of course, bodily integrity. We are looking here at section 12(2) of the Constitution. We are also talking about psychological integrity. All those are rights protectable at law. Last but not least, of course, we have intellectual property rights. These are rights or claims over the products of intellectual human mind. Examples of these include copyright, a book or a song, a patent right over an invention such as a spaceship or a selfie stick, or even a computer program. All these are examples of the categories of rights that we have spoken about. Now, just for a quick exercise, which categories of rights are represented in the scenarios below? What right does Mr. Peter hold over a farm that he bought? What about gossip in a daily newspaper that a pastor of a big congregation is a pedophile? What about the inventor of XYZ machine who is concerned that a competitor is using her product without authorization? What about the advocate who has been appointed to defend Mrs. Soti from a criminal charge that she's facing, and it turns out that the advocate doesn't turn up on the court date, thereby jeopardizing the client's case? These are very important scenarios, and I would like you to look at how they link up with the scenarios that we began with. Legal subjects are bearers of rights and duties. That's our conclusion. We must take note of that fact. Legal rights and duties exist over legal objects, and the law is concerned with the protection of legal rights over legal objects. Legal subjects share jural or legal relations in respect of legal objects. I would like you, as a follow-up, to look at the scenarios that we just gave above and explore how they relate and reflect the main issues that we have discussed in our lesson today. Thank you very much for being part of the lesson. I hope you found it useful. Thank you. Bye.